Wow. We are here on planet Earth. We're in these meat suits. Kasim, Josh, let's get real. Let's
Yes.
let's talk about
Let's,
how to maintain some thread of normalcy in these challenging
yeah.
times. How you doing, man?
Let's do it, Josh. I'm doing okay, man. It's strange times that we're living in, isn't it?
Super strange. And
Yeah.
there's a part of my soul that's like trying to figure out what actually is the truth right now.
Yeah.
So let's get to it, man. We're going to talk about all kinds of things today. You've been up to quite a bit. So let's just catch up as brothers and everybody let us know where you're watching from because we're all family here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Educate, Inspire, Change, and Wellness Force talking about how to maintain a thread of normalcy and really just to connect with one another. You're about to move to Costa Rica. What's up, man? Why are you moving to Costa Rica?
Oh man, I've been on a hell of a journey for the last like year, but specifically since December and January, I've done a lot of traveling. I've done a lot of work on myself spiritually. I did a lot of plant medicine, and to be honest with you, like since I've been back in the last 3 months, I've really been struggling with integrating back into this life.
Yeah.
And I made the decision just to move, man. I've got two young kids and my fiance, and we've just chosen to pack our bags and go to Costa Rica. We are supposed to be going in the beginning of May, but we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. But nevertheless, we're going to go as soon as we can. We're going to be working closely with plant medicine. We're going to be just living our lives there every day, trying to be healthier, be closer to nature. And it's been a struggle for the last 3 or 4 months, but I'm really looking forward to that as the next step and the next chapter in our lives. So that's kind of where I am. To give you a bit more background, if you want, as to what I've done, in December I did 2 iboga ceremonies, and I did 2 San Pedro ceremonies, and then I did 4 ayahuasca ceremonies. So for anyone listening, those are three very powerful plant medicines.
The most
And
powerful, the grandfather and the grandmother, and you double dosed.
yeah, exactly, man. So it's been crazy. I've just been trying to integrate this back into my life, which has been hard. Where I live in Glasgow, Scotland, there's been a lot of pressures, I suppose, if you like, and family, friends,
Yep.
society, culture, just the way it is. It's very hard to go from that and to come back here, and live normally, because you're vibrating at such a different frequency. It's really, really hard to adapt and change. And I've been struggling with it, man, myself. I've been kind of going to the dark side kind of sometimes, and I've been struggling with it, and I've been having to battle some inner demons. But like, I know I'm on the right path. So I'm just looking forward to changing my environment, to changing my space, and to raising my kids in Costa Rica.
Man, it's been such the journey for you, and it's been so badass to watch you. We're doing this podcast live on Facebook, which is really cool. And if you
Yeah.
haven't been joining us on Facebook, because you're hearing this on iTunes right now, but if you haven't been joining us on Facebook, start following Educate, Inspire, Change. Because Kasim and I met through plant medicine, actually, almost
Yep.
2 years ago, which has been quite the journey, man. And it's a beautiful thing as your friend and as a fellow content creator to see the type of content that you're putting out that actually moves the needle in people's hearts. Like this is what we've been training for, Cash.
Yeah.
We've been
Yeah.
training for this shit for years. And so now is the time. Like now is the time to put out real conscious content that is really flying in the face of the negative stuff out there. Because let's be honest, man, I'm 39, about to be 40. I can't think of another time in my life where I felt more fear around me. Let us know if you guys feel this way too. Like, are you feeling everyone's collective fear right now? It's coming up a lot. Like, how have you had people reaching out to you personally? Like, what's it been like for you in this craziness?
It's everywhere, man. Obviously, me running Educate, Inspire, Change, I get mails every day to my inbox, emails, messages, text messages, and it's all around this coronavirus. It's all around like what people think is happening, the truth behind it.
Yeah.
There are conspiracy theories flying everywhere. There's, the media are spreading fear like no one's business. Everywhere you look, all you hear is numbers. Death tolls, this many dead, this many dead. We're struggling here, so people are naturally so scared. They're even scared to leave the front door, which is fine because I am an advocate for staying home. I do believe we should limit this virus, but I am very worried about the kind of fear that's spreading through the world just now, because fear is the breeding ground for virus to spread. The more that we're all in a state of fear, we're going to be attracting mental health problems. We're going to be attracting more disease, more illness. So this is my concern. I'm really hoping that people can use this time to really search inwards, to connect to each other, to connect to themselves, and to really start leading a more healthy life, to start having more healthy relationships. Yeah. Let's use this time to grow from, and life, when you really have a hard time like this, it's how you respond that defines how you're going to react, So if we can respond from this with a sense of unity and with a sense of belonging and a sense of love, then we can really, really use it as a catalyst to change the world.
Man, I just had this huge moment of remembrance where I don't know if you've read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read it. Sorry. No.
Okay. So holy shit. Everyone watching or listening, like, you've all heard this phrase, between stimulus and response, there is a choice.
Yeah.
Just let that land for a moment. Like, there's a choice. It's one thing to like read books and get all these books in our brain and have like all this certifications. But really, dude, like the intelligence that you and I and everybody's working on is embodiment. It's taking those lessons from mother, from grandfather, from life, and actually putting them, matriculating them in our system so that we are what we've learned. That's what's separating the girls from the women and the men from the boys right now. Like the stakes couldn't be higher. So I think what's most important, man, is what I've been really focusing on is, what am I doing every day to love myself? What am I doing every day to love myself? Is it breath work? Is it meditation? Is it having conscious connection with a brother or a sister? Like that is paramount right now. If you are not doing that, this is your sign to immediately start doing it, because self-love isn't something you read on social media. Like self-love is something that you do for yourself, like loving yourself. And that's the journey, man. Like that's some of the things I wanted to jam with you about today is self-love.
Yeah, and everyone has so much time just now, so we for the first time, we're all having a shared experience. We're all dealing with the same troubles, the same issues every day, so, and one thing we all have now is time. So how are we going to use that time? And time is the most valuable currency, as you know. So how are we going to use it? Even taking 10 minutes in the morning to meditate, to do some breath work, just to be alone in the garden or wherever you can be, just to take some time to yourself to really balance your thoughts, balance your energies, and to really, just consciously be aware of what you're going through and to be the observer. If you can observe yourself and you can see what's happening around you and you can just manage yourself stress-free, then you're going to we can make this a beautiful time for everyone, because I feel like all the media and all the stress related to this is causing a lot of issues. I mean, if you think about it, everyone's home with their family members, with loved ones, and there might be a lot of pressures. There might be people in abusive relationships. There might be people having to spend time with people they don't want to be with, So it's so important for those people especially to take time for themselves and to really focus inside,
Man, just this morning, I was having a conversation with my partner, Carrie Michelle, and we were like, okay, let's have some structure that's trustable. Right now, what's most important, I think, for all of us is, because we're stuck at home, we can't go to the park, we can't do the things, have some loving, accountable structure where, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to do my work. From this time to this time, we can have lunch, or we can go do our thing. We can walk around our property. We can practice the safe space. And then from this time, we can have our meals together and we can do everything else. I think structure right now is so powerful, man. If there is one thing that I'll put out there from a place of love to everyone is, can you have the courage to enforce some healthy structure right now? Because if you don't, if you go down this route of like being the victim and saying, oh my God, my husband's annoying me, my wife is annoying me, I can't believe I didn't know this about her. You guys, we weren't meant to spend 24/7 in close quarters without break with a man or a woman. We weren't built that way. I don't care who you are. So it's it's fucking natural that I think we're all a little bit triggered right now. And it's also a great time for the squeeze to happen. And this is what I've been feeling, man. I'm curious how you feel about this.
Sure.
I've been learning a lot about myself that I actually thought I had done work on. I thought I had done a lot of work in regards to my childhood. And I have. But what's come up for me lately is this wound of like hypersensitivity to the feminine. And it was something that Mother Ayahuasca showed to me, but it really has come up just from being in close proximity with my partner. And I think we all can relate to this. It's like, you don't really know who you are until you've been in challenging situations with a loving partner. That's when you really figure out who you are. And that's when all the stuff that you couldn't do when you were single comes to the surface. And that's what I've been feeling, man. So the wound that I'm going into right now is, why am I so sensitive? Why am I hypersensitive?
So you're becoming more sensitive during this time to your partner, yeah?
Absolutely. More sensitive, random memories from childhood coming up, and just really like at the bottom of it all, there's this cord, almost like an energetic cord that needs some attention, instead of like the traditional path where as men we like push forward and we go, I'm going to do every possible thing it takes to like heal this inner child. I even caught myself saying that this morning. Really what the inner child needs, the inner young man, the inner young woman, what that person needs is love and compassion. That's what my young man needs inside. So this time where my man responsibilities, running Wellness Forest, having the podcast, doing our business with Rhythmia and everything else that we're up to serve the world, which I love and believe in, but it has its opportunity cost. And so I feel like the world and our responsibilities don't stop because we want to do the inner work and healing. That's our responsibility to actually do that no matter what. So that's what I've been feeling into, man. And a big part of it has been, okay, what's the tyrant in the high chair really want? Because I've had a tyrant come out lately. Just the other day, like I had a moment where I had to go lay on the couch and breathe, and I totally like yelled at my partner, and then I felt bad afterwards, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So it's the whole earth has been shaking. And what I found is, this is making me the man. This is preparing me to be a father. Like that's what this is about. I know you're a father too, man. So what's come up for you in the compression? Because I've definitely been feeling compressed. Have anybody else feeling compressed? There's like 5 people. Like, yes.
Yes. Yeah, man. I think all relationships are right now under the magnifying glass. Not even just partners, but mothers and daughters or brothers and sisters. I think all relationships are now for the first time you're being forced together in close proximity with people that you're not used to being with 24/7.
Yep.
So this is really going to be a time for people to get to know themselves and to get to know their loved ones and their family better than they've ever known before. So for me personally, I've actually been enjoying spending time with my children a lot more than I'm used to. So for me, I've loved that aspect of it. And we're in a unique situation where we chose to move in with my mother a few months ago before we moved to Costa Rica.
No shit.
So I'm actually in a house with 6 people just now in a 3-bedroom house. So there's me, my mother, my brother, my partner, and my 2 children, and we're all in 3 bedrooms. And like obviously we have a living room, a dining room.
You get to know each other real fast.
Real fast.
Yeah. So
as you can imagine, there's lots of conflict. There's lots of fighting over the bathroom. There's all this kind of stuff going on. It's crazy, man. It really is. But I have to say one thing. I'm kind of relishing it. I've always yearned for having a big family. I've always yearned to have that kind of family structure, and I've never really had it. I've always looked at people who have big family dinners on the weekends, and they're all together, and there's a feeling of unity. And I've never really had it. So now, for the first time, I actually have it. So I'm trying to embrace it and enjoy it as much as I can. Even fighting through the struggles, the little arguments, the hypersensitivity. This is just stuff I'm trying to kind of breathe through and trying to work through. It comes and goes. Yeah. As long as you can keep a thick skin and almost practice giving each other your personal space and creating healthy boundaries, then I think you're okay. But I think that's an important subject to touch on, is giving each other healthy boundaries, and being aware of the situation we're in. So if somebody overreacts, understand why they're overreacting and not be so quick to jump on them.
When you said healthy boundaries, like 1,000 hearts came on the screen when you said
really?
Healthy boundaries. Yeah, I'm feeling that, Kash, because God, dude, we don't learn by always going towards the pleasure. I think as you and I both have felt in ceremonies, like we learn so much, man, when we are actually pushed towards the pain. Like Paul Chek calls it the pain teacher. The pain teacher comes in to teach us something. And as challenging as it is, like the adult male and the adult woman in all of us knows that that pain teacher is there to give us a gift. But inside I'm like, get away from me, pain. Like I don't want to fuck with you right now because I'm dealing with all my responsibilities. So one thing I wanted to share with you, man, is like mental hygiene for me, like literally the same way we brush our teeth. Like, can we have hygiene for the brain? And I've been sensing this a lot for myself. Are my thoughts that I'm thinking, are they actually mine? And I've been feeling I did an hour meditation this morning, and afterwards I journaled, and the thing that came up for me was my brain is a receiver. So my brain is a receiver, and what thoughts am I allowing to come in, and what thoughts am I holding on to? Like, because man, you've been in a ceremony before. You know what it feels like when all of a sudden you go down this path and you're like, wait a minute, that's not mine. That's someone else's shit, right? I think you even shared with me that you were purging for someone else once, and you were
during ceremony.
Did you tell me that?
Yeah, 100%. I think I have a habit of it. I think I've done it more than once. Yeah.
What do you think
during ceremonies?
What do you think that actually is when we purge for other people? Because sometimes when I'm walking around public, I feel other people's stuff too.
Yeah, I think different people are here for different reasons, and I've always felt like I'm an empath, like I'm very empathetic to other people and I feel other people's pain. So I think part of my purpose here on earth is to help others and to live in service to others. So I find that during ceremonies, my automatic need to help others, even when I'm not trying to do it consciously, I can't help doing it. I'm purging for them.
Yeah.
I think this is just part of my makeup. This is why I created Educate, Inspire, Change, because I wanted to educate, inspire, and change the world. So it just so happens that in the last 2 years, I've realized the best way to do this is to heal myself. I spent so many years healing people outside, and I forgot to heal myself. So I think this is just part of our makeup. We're not meant to be alone, bro. We're meant to be with people. We're meant to be sharing love. And there's a comment that just popped up here from Stephanie. She said, I would like some advice to keep my 16-year-old son engaged without tons of fear.
No doubt. I'm going to add that to our screen. Yes, Stephanie. Yep.
Yeah. So advice to Stephanie to keep her 16-year-old son engaged without tons of fear. I would say media as a big one. Try to keep him away from media as much as you can. If you can manage the content that's going into his mind, and like surround him with positive people, positive content. There's a lot of channels. We're putting out videos in Educate, Inspire, Change almost every day of the positive side of coronavirus. How it's bringing unity, how people are learning from it, how it's reminding people to be close to their loved ones, and all this kind of stuff. So I would say just kind of be mindful what kind of media he's consuming. Be mindful who he's talking to on his phone in his personal time. That would be some advice from me. What do you think, Josh?
That's solid, man. I mean, you're a father, so I mean, you're coming from like the actual horse drinking the water. But what I can tell is that with the young generation specifically, dude, they are tied to their phones 24/7. So literally plugging in, and I think as a parent, it's your shepherd. It's your loving guidance to create healthy structure for them, just like you're creating it for yourself.
Yeah.
So literally pull your son or daughter away from their phone and be like, all right, for the next hour, we're going to do playtime. We're going to wrestle in the living room. We're going to do this. Like physically pulling them away from the device, I think is so healthy for hygiene right now, for their mind, dude.
Yeah. Bro, as you say this, it reminds me of something that happened 3 or 4 nights ago. I've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, yeah? And it breaks my heart, but like 3 nights ago, my 4-year-old woke up in the middle of the night crying, and he said to me and my mum, he goes, I miss the world. He's like, I miss people. And I was like, okay, it's okay. And he's like, are we going to be okay? And he's asking us, do we have he was asking questions about the virus. And we realized we're talking to each other to each other about death, about the virus, and he's listening in the background, and we forgot that he was there. So I think this is a very, very important thing that everyone should hear, is be mindful what you're saying to people, to other adults, because your children are listening. And they really are listening, because we forgot, because we were talking about dying, we're talking about death, we're talking about 1,000 people died in Italy in one day, and we forget there's a 4-year-old listening in the background. And that's the kind of stuff we would never talk to him directly about, but he's obviously hearing it, and this is causing him to have nightmares in his sleep, bro. So this really caused us to look at ourselves and to be really, really careful, because the energy that we put out, our kids pick up on it. So we have to be shining examples of positivity, of love for our children, because even if you're not saying things that are out of fear, if you're behaving fearful, if you're behaving nervous, your kids are going to pick up on this. So this is another big thing I think we should talk about, because our children are so receptive during this time, so we have to be very, very mindful how we behave.
Lane says, I feel other people's emotions too, and it's too much sometimes. I feel you, Lane. How do you deal with it? Okay, here's how I deal with it. It's going to sound so simplistic, and your logical mind, your ego is going to say, this is too simple, Josh. But I promise you, if you just do this 6 times, do 6 of those, that's how you snap yourself out of it. I promise you. Like from my heart to yours, straight up, Lane. And anybody watching or feeling this, if you do that, you can shift yourself. You can shift your state. This is the thing that when, Kash, you and I know, like when you're in a ceremony, the only thing that can save you is your breath sometimes. Like if you can breathe, then you can choose. It's tattooed on my arm. So like if we can just take a breath, man or lady, and if we can actually get that breath in our system, that is the most powerful way, Lane. All of us, I mean, this is the age of empaths. Shit, we're all feeling more because we're designed to feel that way anyways. I think actually most people are empaths. And I think just society kind of trains it out of them. But I bet you in everyone's soul, when they're a little child and they come into this world, I think we all are built that way. Jason Silva talks about this in Brain Games, how we all have this empathetic wiring in our brains. It's what allowed us to be in tribes. Because if your tribe, like if Kasim's tribe If Kash's tribe had corn one winter and we didn't, you might share with us. The next winter, when you needed corn, I'm going to share with you. We're built that way. But what happens is we have unconscious capitalism that has divided people. I'm not saying capitalism is evil. What I'm saying is unconscious capitalism, where we're raping and pillaging Mother Earth. Like, that's what's bringing out the empaths. So Lane, I feel you. And yeah, sometimes it is too much, you know, and the best way to deal with it, honestly, is to get our breath work in, to make sure that we're changing our state, to lovingly care about ourselves, and then to do what we're doing right now, which is to be here with one another. Like, this is all we get, my friends. This is all we get, you guys. So let's get on with it, you know?
Yeah, and I think this time, we've got so much time to ourselves just now that we have real serious time to evaluate our lives, to look at how we're treating our bodies, to look at, as our job, serving humanity, to look at our relationships, our friendships, to look at all aspects of our lives. So I really think it feels like a big reset button is being pressed just now, you know?
Yeah,
and everyone's being forced to look inwards, being forced to look at their life, and you know, 5 years or 10 years down the line, if another crisis happens, are you going to be prepared? Because right now, no one's prepared, you know? So in the future, are you going to be living sustainably? Are you going to be living healthy? Are you going to be in a good mental space to be able to handle this crisis? Because there might be more to come. This might just be the first to come in many, you know? So I think it's about preparing yourself mentally, physically, financially to be secure and safe. Stop wasting money on stupid things, you know? Like I have a lot to say there because I used to love designer clothes, you know? And I would spend silly amounts of money in clothes. And now at times like this, you're just wishing all that money was in the bank, you know? So
God,
this is
I feel that because I've been super lean. My whole business is lean. But now I'm just like, okay, what other little tiny pieces of fat can I cut off this business? Do you guys feel me? Like everything that we're dealing with right now is a call to arms of what is most important. Like I've already made a decision. No matter what, I'm going to survive. My business is going to make it. You know, and that's it. So if we just mentally tell ourselves the real story, which is, by the way, the one that we're writing all the time. If for me, I can just hold on to that and I can choose to hold on to that through all my practices, that's going to make or break everything. So I think to piggyback on what you're saying, man, if we're putting ourselves in a space of love where we can actually care for ourselves, and no matter where we are, maybe we're with like 6 people like you are, or maybe we're in a situation where we're triggered, can we just continue to go back to love and compassion? That is probably the most powerful tool we can have right now, is love and compassion. And I'll say it again because it might not land, because it kind of goes one ear and out the other. If we can have love and compassion right now, and we can really embody that, imperfectly perfect, just do your best. You're gonna fuck up. You're gonna fuck up, y'all. It's gonna happen. But if you can shorten the cycle of recommitment. If it takes 5 days to come back in love with your partner, or if it takes 5 minutes, just commit. I mean, you've been through it too, man. You had a situation where you were going to break up in the past, and you came together because you brought a child into the world. Like those times tested you and prepared you for now.
Big time. Yeah, I think the bigger the test, the more rewarding can be the outcome, you know, or the bigger the rewards can be. So I almost embrace times like this. I'm almost like enjoying the hardship and relishing it, because I know after this, we're going to come out stronger. We're going to be more bonded. We're going to be more aware. We're going to be more conscious. We really are almost transcending just now. You know, the whole planet is, for the first time, we're all experiencing the exact same thing. Think about that, you know, every household, every person, every mother, every father, we're all experiencing the exact same problems, the exact same pressures, the exact same, you know, for the first time, we're more connected than ever before, if you think about it.
Yep.
As a human race, you know.
Yes.
So how we come from this is really going to define us and define the future for our kids, for our grandkids. And I really want my children to remember this time as a time of positivity, a time of unity. I don't want them to look back and think, oh, remember that time when we were all so scared and fearful when everyone was dying. I don't want them to remember this as that time. I want them to remember that virus that happened many years ago as the time when mum and dad got together and we all rallied together and we all became closer and we all overcame.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
That's what this time should be remembered as.
I just took a breath, and I've been taking lots of breaths. So as you're watching this, you guys, if you're loving what Kash and I are discussing, please share this right now. Share this with as many people as possible, because we need this message, not of just positivity, but of actually inspiring other people. You know what I've always loved about your brand? It actually just hit me. Like, motivation is what we see everywhere, dude. Everybody's like, stay motivated. Make sure you're motivated. Blah, 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 blah. Motivation is so temporary. Are you kidding me? Like, during a time like this, if you try to like lean on motivation, you're done. You're
Yeah.
done. The only way
Yeah.
to have times like this where we can actually thrive, which, by the way, Anthony, you're right, thrive, not just survive,
Yeah.
is if we have
Anthony.
inspiration. We have to have
Yeah.
inspiration in
Yeah.
order to thrive. We can't just be motivated. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, Anthony's actually somebody I was with in Costa Rica. I was doing ayahuasca with Anthony in January, and this man, me and him, are going to get together in Costa Rica, and we've got plans to build our own community. You know, and these are the kind of people I want to vibe with. These are my tribe, people that want to create community, because we're not this virus has shone a light on how we're supposed to live. We're not actually meant to be in built up cities with millions of people.
Amen.
We're meant to live in small communities where we protect and provide for each other, and we live sustainably within our means. This is vital to the future of humanity, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like more and more people I speak to, especially people like yourself and people who do plant medicine, people who do mindfulness, more and more of us are being called to move to nature, to move away from cities, and to be in small communities that are sustainable, and we all look after each other, where there's no fear, you know, there's no fear of, like, you know, locking your doors at night. There's no fear of crime. There's only love. There's no fear of, you know, paying bills or needing food to feed your kids to survive. We just want to provide and protect and look after each other, you know. So
Yes.
I feel like this time there's going to be a massive surge in people doing this, and I'm looking forward to it myself. And that Anthony just reminded me of that there, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing you, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony, you're the man, dude. Thrive, not survive. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Miriam's adding to our broadcast, love, compassion, and acceptance. That's pretty cool, actually. I didn't think about acceptance, because a lot of times people will use the word surrender. So it's like, yeah, surrender to the moment, surrender to what is. Sometimes surrender and acceptance, like, they go hand in hand. And I think right now what we're all struggling with is we're trying to figure out what the fuck is really going on. Like, what's actually happening? Because once we know what's happening, then we can start doing our emotional intelligence work to accept and surrender to it. But I think right now, the biggest tool that any of us can have is just being okay in the not knowing, and actually surrendering, Miriam, and accepting that we're in the not knowing right now. We really are. And so all we get is like, what's our training? What's our practices? How can we practice self-love, compassion, love, kindness, and service? They're not just buzzwords. Like, they're practical, tangible, powerful tools that I think in some way, man, are driving us back to nature. Like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to be in a space here where, like, I'm close to the water. So if I want to go to the ocean and stay away from people and be in nature, I can do that. You know, because it is important right now with us not knowing to have some healthy guidelines, right? Like, I see a lot of people, they're not taking this seriously. What I'm saying is, it's not that we shouldn't take it seriously or not. It's that we should take looking at it seriously. Like, let's look at what's going on. Let's do our diligence. Let's figure out what the real facts are, and let's take our time. And in the presence of doubt and with the absence of facts, let's just take one step closer to something that makes us feel better. Let's all just do that as a collective, right? Absence of facts, presence of doubt, no clear course. So then just do the things that you feel are most in alignment with love, compassion, and service. And that, I think, bro, I think that's going to be different for a lot of people right now.
Big time. Yeah. I want to ask you a question. So there's been lots of people who are reacting to the virus and not treating it very seriously. And I see a lot of separation, people getting angry at people who are maybe not practicing social distancing, or people, you know, how I think in Florida, there was people going to the beach.
Yeah.
How are you reacting to that? Like, what would you say to people instead of being angry towards those people? How can we be the change we wish to see, if you like, and how can we try to educate these people to do the right thing?
Okay, so last night I lead a men's group, and if you're a conscious woman or a conscious man and you're not in some type of a community group, maybe this is it for you, and that's awesome. You're here, perfect. But now is the time to come together, because your question is answered by something that came up for me in our men's group last night, and it was, a friend of mine has a woman that's being called to arms in the medical service industry. She typically wouldn't go into emergency rooms or into the ER, but now she's possibly going to be summoned there, and he's afraid, you know, and rightly so. And so what we're all experiencing right now is we're taking a big look at our mortality. And when we're questioned with our mortality, it can happen in a plant medicine ceremony. I've died twice. But when we're questioned in this real life with our mortality, we want to stay in the game. We want to be here. We want to survive, and we want to thrive. And so where I'm going with this whole conversation is I'm watching how I react, and I'm lovingly responding instead. That is my biggest tool that I have right now, is like, yeah, I feel the fear. And sometimes it makes me go, because I don't want my friends' spouses or girlfriends or husbands to be in peril. I don't. And there's a lot of people in the medical industry that we really don't know the full spectrum of where this quote virus is going. I have my thoughts. I don't want this to be a conspiracy theory conversation because it's not the right place for it. But I do have my own private thoughts. If you want to learn those, come to Wellness Force so we can talk about it. I think what's going on right now is on a high level, we're being faced with our mortality. And on that high level, as we're faced with our mortality, the best possible tool and the best thing we can do is practice responding. Practice responding. Use your breath, use community. Don't try to do this on your own, y'all, because if you're a lone wolf trying to practice responding, you're going to wind up chewing your own leg off. Like it's not going to work if you try to just like do this on your own and be a lone wolf. So that's my answer, brother, is like really, truly take this time to embody real connection, not just posting in a Facebook group, but like actually connecting and having conversation through the medium of technology, and be mindful about what you're doing with social distancing, and be mindful in general about your hygiene right now, just washing your hands and whatnot. But the most important thing on top of that is do not become a victim of fear. Do not allow yourself right now to become a victim of fear. Do not read and consume news media all day that puts you in a sympathetic state. That's when your nervous system shifts over. That's the big one, man. And I think Marie says, trust, surrender, give love, and have thanks. Marie's got the ticket. Like, this is about trusting and surrendering, everyone.
That's my fiance right there.
Oh, this is Marie. So Marie knows.
Yeah, she knows, man.
Marie knows what's up. Marie's in that house with 6 other people. So
yeah, exactly.
so Marie's got the understanding, man. And I do want to say this, like a lot of times people will say, what are the 5 things I need? Or like, what are the tools that I actually need? Right now, you guys, if you go to wellnessforce.com/M21, a free breathwork week, free tools for you, like really loving, powerful things that you can do. I've sourced it from talking with people like Kasim over the past 5 years. Like, what are the common threads that all of us can actually benefit from? I promise you, if you go to wellnessforce.com/M21, you can get a week worth of breath work. It'll help you so tremendously. It's been my go-to. It's been my absolute go-to. And like Marie said, it's the way that I can tap into that fuel source of love and trust and surrender. Because if I'm holding my breath, Kash, like nothing good's gonna happen, man. Period.
No. Yeah. Love it, bro. You're so insightful, man. I watched your live with your partner Carrie and about the breath work, and it was beautiful.
Thank you.
And it was the first time I've watched a video and followed it to the end, you know?
Hell yeah.
Like for breath work. So I really appreciate that, man.
It's big because I one of the things that's I've been feeling is there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of media outlets, there's a lot of people that are doing breath work, and you know what? We need more. We just need more. So any kind of scarcity mindset where people think, who am I to create right now? Or who am I to do my thing? Fear is a liar. It's just a liar. You guys, do you realize the mass fucking exodus that's coming online right now? There are people that are leaving brick and mortar businesses that have been out there for 10, 20, 30 years. They're coming online, and they're going to come online to stay, because that's the shift that's happening right now. Your business with conscious content, my business where we're putting out things that people can consume that'll actually make them feel something, that'll inspire them. That's going to be the wave of the future. And we're living that future right now. I mean, it's happening right now. So that's my advice, y'all, is like, use these tools, go to the URL that I mentioned, consistently check in with Educate, Inspire, Change, because if not, then you could fall prey to some of the other fear-based stuff out there. Like, there's a war, dude, and that war is our attention. Our currency is attention right now. So, you know, we're helping Facebook right now by being on Facebook. They're benefiting from your channel, but so are we. So there's a duality there. It's crazy. We live in a crazy time, man. We really do. Yeah,
big time. I think Lane's asking to post a link. We'll post that link in the comments. We can do that. Yeah, Josh?
Yeah, I'll post it right now. Yep.
And
and please reach out to me individually, like write me a DM. Wellness Force is on Instagram. We're here, you guys. Like this, we're in this together, and I'm actually I'm in such joy that I get to create with you, man. Because God, it's been a long time coming. It's been 5 years of doing this podcast, you know, Wellness Force, and what I've heard and felt over and over and over again is, you never know who you're touching by you just doing your dream, by you just living your dream. For one email or one message that you get, or for any of us here that create things, there's like 50 to 100 people that felt something awesome from what you did, but they're never going to reach out to you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just know that like the impact that all of us can make right now, like literally all the hundreds of people on this live, all the thousands of people that are listening to this, now's the time, ladies and gents, to do your thing, to live your dream, to not contribute to the broken capitalistic system that's fed through an unconscious lens. Let's take capitalism and let's use it consciously, so that we can help each other, so that we can connect with each other. And, I'd love to meet you in Costa Rica on the off-grid living experiment too. That'd be so fun.
I can't wait. I think we'll coin that phrase, conscious capitalism.
Conscious capitalism.
Yeah,
like,
I love
it's
it.
here. It's not going anywhere. So let's use it to our advantage. Let's use it from a place of love, And Marty's just blowing up the feed right now. Okay, we're going to have to monitor this feed. We got some real opinions here. Lane says, can you post the link? Yes. Lily says the soul is immortal. Cash, what's your thoughts on that? The soul being immortal?
I think, I could go into quite a lot of depth here on that subject based on my plant medicine journeys. But my understanding of the soul's journey is, and this is just something I picked up during plant medicine and during meeting some shamans, is that we all start off as spirit, and we turn into one of the shamans said he saw himself being born as a flick of fire. Like his soul was born as fire, and some of us are born as water, some are land, earth, and so one of the four elements. And then over time, this progressed, and he became like a rock, and then he became like a plant, then he became like an insect or an animal, and then after the animal he started his human journey, and now we're all currently experiencing this soul journey as a human. And the next step of evolution is we turn into something else. We become spirit, if you like, or some kind of higher, more evolved being. So it's just a soul's journey, and at the end of the journey we go back to where we began. So it's like a never-ending cycle. So in that sense, you could almost say the soul is immortal. We began at source and we end at source. So from that aspect, the soul is immortal.
I think the soul's immortal because I've had memories and visions and experiences where, dude, I had a moment when I was in Austin and I was pulling up to my friend Chad's house, and we get out and all of a sudden there's this deer that walks up, and I look at the deer and the deer looks at me. I swear to God, I had a conversation with the deer where I was like, "You're me, huh?" And the deer was like, "Yep." I mean, this is how crazy. Yes, the soul is immortal because I was seeing some other soul that knew that my soul was in me. I mean, you guys, there's so much more here than meets the eye. There's so much more here than we ever are seeing. Why do you think that certain animals can see certain color spectrums that others people can't see? Why do you think that cats are constantly looking around, or even dogs? Like, there is so much more than what we actually experience here in the 3D. And I do believe, like what Lily was saying, I think the soul is immortal. And you know what else I think, man? I think sometimes we are living out the sins of our mothers and our fathers. I think that, when I really feel into it, because her comment just brought it up for me, like, yeah, our soul is immortal. And if we all come from the same source intelligence, then we're all just individuated fractions or individuated consciousness of that source intelligence. So yeah, the soul is infinite and eternal because it all comes from the same infinite source, the same soul. So for me, it's like, I feel like we've just been disrespecting ourselves and disrespecting our mother so much, this planet, this earth. Now is the time. Like when you and I get sick, bro, our temperature rises, we cough. When we get a virus ourselves, we get it out of our system by heating up, and we cook off the things that don't serve us. Well, how we've been treating Mother Earth is the virus. And for some reason, Source Intelligence has brought in this virus to help us cook off our ways of being that aren't coming from love. That's how I feel about this whole thing.
That's an amazing way to look at it. It's an amazing perspective. I mean, we can almost treat this virus as a gift. Almost. It sounds obviously obviously I've got nothing but sympathy and condolences to all the people that are suffering and struggling out there and have experienced death. But from a world perspective, we can treat this as a gift, and that might sound very hard for some people to hear, but sometimes the worst things that can happen to us in our own lives can be the best things, like for example, my story when I had my first son 11 years ago and he was taken from me. I couldn't see him. This was the most painful thing I ever experienced, but in hindsight, it's a gift. It taught me many things about myself. It forced me to grow, it forced me to change, and it made me the man I am today. So collectively we're experiencing a lot of pain, a lot of fear just now. But if we can treat this pain, this fear as a gift, we can then use that gift and grow from it. So I think that perspective that you offered is really beautiful. And we just need to, how you perceive things is how they are. So if you look at something as being bad and evil and horrible, then that's going to become that. If you can look at something as being a gift, as something to learn from, then it will become that.
And dude, we have a lot of work to do as a collective. So, there is what you're sharing with like this perspective. There's so many layers on top of that as well, like our childhood conditioning, our emotional contagion that we get from our society, the type of news media that we take in. You guys, like there's a lot of sources that come in to either change our perception to good or change our perception that everything's going to be like the Titanic and sink. So my feeling on this is, and I heard John Wineland, he's a guy that I had on the podcast just this week, and we did a show about masculine and feminine polarity, and we touched on the virus a little bit, and what he was saying that he lost his daughter. She has a TEDx with millions of views. This is the woman with the tubes in her nose, and I forget the name of it, but he's been through tremendous casualty and loss in his life. And he said something that was so profound to me. He said that your wound is actually the most powerful place that you can serve others from. And if you can just get in touch with your wound, like you said about your son, or maybe me with mental health and my mom's illness, or my father's cognitive dissonance, or being picked on or bullied, like we all have our stuff, and it's all good. I'm not saying that one person's is better or worse than the other, but if we can really get in touch with that wound, and just be its friend in a way almost, and start parenting and shepherding the young woman and the young man inside of ourselves, holy shit, we're going to transform. I mean, our entire world is going to transform. And I think a lot of us who are experiencing adversity right now and experiencing pain, it's here for a reason. The pain teacher has come to teach, y'all. And I'm not in any way disrespecting or mitigating the people that are dying right now, because that's real. And I want to send love and respect and wellness to their families. But I will say this is here for a reason. And we're all going to learn what that reason is, individual to ourselves. And if we can then breathe and turn towards being a solution to the world and serving people from our wound, bro, it's game over. There's not going to be any more hardcore duality. There's going to be some duality, but it's not going to be the shifting crazy pendulum where so many people don't have food and water and care and service. Like this has to end. We can't continue on anymore like we've been doing it.
Yeah, and I think it is ending. I think it's begun. I think ever since 2012, since that Mayan prediction of the new beginning, I think ever since then there's been that shift, and just now we're right in the thick of it. We're right in the middle of it, and I think I'm really optimistic for the future, man. Even in these dark times, I feel nothing but optimism. And I feel like through every major crisis, major incident, major war, if you can look at that in a positive light, then we can turn it into something really beautiful, man. And I really feel passionate about that. I feel like we can make this the most beautiful time. We can use it as a catalyst to grow from, we can really save a lot of hardship, a lot of heartache in the future. So although there might be some heartache and some hardship just now, but we have to think open-mindedly and think about the future and think how much of this can we prevent in the future from this, So I'm really optimistic about this.
How do you think the off-grid is going to work for you? And just on like a riff level, how do you see that working out for more people, like where people want to go and be in sustainable communities? Like what's the future look like in that way for you?
I mean, for me, I want to be in a sustainable community where we're self-sustaining, where we grow our own food, where we can live off solar power, where we don't have to worry about council tax and rates and bills and the pressure of paying bills in time, where we can where we can leave our doors unlocked, where we can be surrounded by family and friends, where we can really live with nature, be at one with nature. We can still have our vices, we can still have our phones, we can still have Wi-Fi, we can still have computers and cars and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not saying let's go back to caveman days.
We can still have dark chocolate.
We can have dark chocolate. We can still. I mean, I have my vices. I enjoy a glass of wine. I enjoy going to the cinema. I enjoy going for long drives. I enjoy all this stuff. But we need to have balance, and we need to stop doing things to extreme, and we need to start loving ourselves, so we stop hurting ourselves. And as long as we do everything from a place of love, I mean, I'll now have a glass of wine from a place of love, whereas maybe 3 or 4 years ago I was going out and I was getting shit-faced from a place of pain. I was hurting myself with alcohol. So it's just about perception. It's about loving yourself, and it's about caring and and loving and trusting yourself and trusting others. That's all it's about, man. And I think as long as we love ourselves, then the rest will happen. You know, we can look at systems and ways of implementing change, but I think it comes from a place of self-love. As long as we have that self-love, then all these communities will build and grow naturally, you know?
Lane says your future sounds a lot like mine. Yeah, Lane,
beautiful.
Because we're all in the same future together. But the challenge is this, Kash, and this is what I was feeling when you were describing like earlier before we even came on the show, like all the ceremonies you've done, San Pedro and ayahuasca, and just going through your own personal hell and heaven at the same time. Man, what was that like for you to now be here and be integrating? Because this is where the real ceremony, this is where the rubber meets the road, dude.
Do you know, I think all those ceremonies prepared me for this.
What's up?
I think like I was in Iboga in December, yeah, and during the Iboga ceremony, I was purging so hard, and someone said to me, "You were cleaning out your lungs," because they looked at me and they saw my lungs were bright red, and I was coughing up thick black kind of stuff, you know, and I feel like I have asthma and I have breathing problems. And I feel like had I not done that, maybe I would have been suffering a lot more just now, you know? So like, I feel that prepared me. I feel like I did the frog, the Campbell.
Yeah.
I did Campbell, which is the healing medicine,
yeah,
where it purges you and detoxifies your body. I done that in January, and I feel like that has built my immune system up so much. So I feel like I subconsciously was going through these medicine journeys almost in preparation for this massive change, this massive shift, you know? So I'm really glad that, I think from ayahuasca last March, it told me to do Iboga. And I think it told me for a reason. And then doing Iboga, I met people who then invited me to different retreats and to do Kambo and ayahuasca. So I feel like I've been guided by my higher self through all these journeys, just to heal myself, to heal my family. And I think us moving to Costa Rica is a part of that healing journey as well. Because I'm taking my kids, I'm taking my fiance, I want to take my mother. And I feel like the sooner I can get them away from this city, because I feel like they're now going to enforce vaccines. They're now going to change laws, and they're now going to be, you know, for our own good, you know.
Sure.
So I feel like the sooner we can get away and build our own communities, the better.
Amen. Mic drop, bro. Because what I sense is there is real rational fear that's coming up. Like, I'll be honest with you, nobody's vaccinating me. It's just not going to happen. So if I need to go to the forest or I need to go to the mountains, that's fine. But you know, and again, I don't want to make this like a conspiracy theory conversation. There are real evil energies in the world. That's why the light is so needed. They're both there. Like you and I have talked about Alan Watts a whole bunch. And I think Alan Watts has even been in some of your content. Alan Watts always shares with us about the Tao, you know, the great Tao. It loves and nourishes all things, but it does not lord it over them. And so whenever we're experiencing something as a collective or a society where somebody's lording something over us, that ain't the right path. If you feel like somebody's dangling a puppeteer string over you, or you feel like somebody's pushing fear at you, or somebody's using control and it just doesn't feel right, trust that barometer. I mean, that barometer is there for a reason, you know, like relationships even where people are controlling to a point where it's hurting someone else or they're losing themselves. I feel like we've lost ourselves as a nation, you know, as a collective. And I feel like this is a way to bring us back home. This is a way to come back home, but we're not going to come back home unless we're actually willing to let go of where we've been traveling. We have to let go of the reins right now. And honestly, dude, I feel in a very strong way, as uncomfortable as it is with all these deaths and people stuck at home and us having to look at our shit, the beauty is that we're all looking at our shit. I mean, let's bring that in droves in the month ahead, like in these next 30 days, like what can you be if you just spend some time going inward? This is one of the things we talk about in the beginning is like, mental hygiene, space to go inward, community power, relationships. Man, if we can all just spend some time with ourselves now more than ever, that'll shift overnight. Can you imagine what would happen if everybody meditated at the same time in the world for an hour? I mean, it's game, set, match. There'd be no more of this. We'd look at each other and we'd be like, sorry about that. Let's restart. Let's do something new. So it's so fun to podcast with you, man. I feel like we could go for a long time.
Me too, man. You know, just before we end the podcast, like we mentioned briefly about my plant medicine journeys.
Yeah.
So just so you know, I don't think you even know this, Josh, but I've brought on a new film director, and we're basically going to make 3 different documentaries from my Iboga's journey, my San Pedro journey, and my ayahuasca journey.
Yes.
And then we're going to Rhythmia in July, and we're going to have a big, huge, film crew there, three cameras, 3 cameramen, and we're going to really finish this thing. So I'm looking forward to creating all this content, and then we're going to make it it's going to be an ongoing series, where we just go to different retreats around the world, spreading the plant medicine, different healing modalities, different retreats, and this is the path I'm on, that I'm being called to, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with all our audiences at Wellness Force and with Educate, Inspire, Change, and they should be coming out in the next couple of months, man. So I'm really looking forward to
and I saw
sharing
the teaser. The teaser is amazing. Like I'll post the link for the teaser in our show notes and also on Facebook Live. Man, like the guy you have that's creating this content, what was his name?
Well, I've now got 2 different people. So I've got Samuel Austin, who's making the first documentary from Awakening the Soul.
Yeah.
So and then I've got a new guy who's a Spanish film director. His name is Borja, and he's got 20 years experience in filmmaking. He's been in Peru for the last 4 years filming a family and making a big documentary. And so I'm really excited to bring him on board. And in the future he's going to be helping me with all my film projects. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys, man. It's going to be amazing.
Bali said in regards to meditation, she said there's one coming up on the 4th. Search Unify on Facebook. That's what we need right now. And by the way, how can people join you in July?
Rhythmia, man. Rhythmia, a Life Advancement Center, which is in Costa Rica. I think we're going to be there from the 12th to the 19th, and it's going to be a crazy, crazy week because we've got so many thought leaders. Giovanni Bartolomeu is going to be there. He's going to be the thought leader. We're going to have the shamans there. We're going to have me and all my friends and family there. Even my mum, who's 60 years old, who's a Muslim woman, is coming to do plant medicine, bro.
Wow.
And she's bringing her friend who's also a Muslim, who's also elderly, and they're both coming for the first time to do plant medicine. I can't believe it.
That's going to be a cool story.
It's going to be an amazing story, and we think it's really going to help the documentary because it's opening us up to a whole new spectrum of people, so it'll be really interesting.
Well, I'm stoked to follow that, and it's just such an honor to have this conversation, man, and to amplify this conversation. We need this now so much. Like if we can all just pause right now, and I'm saying this for myself, can we just pause right now? Can we literally hit the pause button and just allow ourselves to be with what is? Like, what's the story you're telling yourself about why you can't create? What's the story you're telling yourself about why you need to treat your spouse a certain way? And it's come up full frontal for me, as I shared earlier. Like, the time for us to learn is now. Like my mission with Wellness Force is, how do I discover physical and emotional intelligence? In other words, how do I live my life well? My mission, my mess, is my message. That's what I'm bringing to the world. It's the same thing with you, man. You're not perfect. I mean, you're pretty good. Oh. You're pretty good, Kash. but you're not perfect, bro. Like you're still educating, inspiring, and changing yourself. So this is not gurus talking to the quad here. This is a human being with another human being sharing a collective message that is going to raise the water where we're all swimming, where we're all living. All of us are here together. So thank you so much, brother, for coming on the Wellness Force podcast and letting me share it with your community. People can learn more at facebook.com/educate, inspire, change. You already know because you're here. But for Wellness Force, please give Kash some love. Listen to his podcast. Tell us about your podcast, man.
Oh, yes, I've got a podcast, Educate, Inspire, Change with Kash Khan. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, here on Facebook. So, please give me a follow, guys. I haven't created much content in the last 3 or 4 weeks with this virus. It's been hard to get out and about, but there's going to be more guests coming on board. And especially when I move to Costa Rica, we'll be filming somebody every week. So please subscribe and look forward to that.
It's going to be amazing. And I'm really excited for the road ahead, even though we're in a time of super gnarly uncertainty. I will want to end with this. The Chinese symbol for crisis, it's danger and it's opportunity. It's both. We're in a crisis. There's a lot of danger that deserves rational fear and a lens of respect and love. And there's also opportunity. So I challenge you and I challenge me, all of us. Where can we find the opportunity in this? To love, to connect, to launch that thing, to write the book, to do the thing, man. Do the thing, because we don't know. We don't know what's going on. And quite frankly, that's a cool way to live. That's a good way to live, where we just really don't know what's happening. So we may as well do the thing that lights us up. Brother, I love you. Thank you for letting me share with your community. And we'll talk again real soon.
Yeah, 100%. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Share this podcast with everyone because it's powerful.
Yeah.
I was feeling really strong about this. We love you all. Bye.